I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take the roll, please.
Mayor?
Here.
Benefield? Brooks?
Here.
Frislow? Gould?
Here.
Hart? O'Gallon? Parker? Sterling Ferry? Here. Chivinello?
Here.
Weigel?
Here.
Winfrey? And Eustace. You have a form.
Next, we have the approval of minutes from 8/3, August 3rd. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Under old business,
Any old business?
under new business, we didn't put Davis Vision on here. Bruce, you're here.
Yes,
This
ma'am.
is just because you were going to review this. We'll do some discussion prior about any Davis Vision providers or necessarily doing our program and so forth. So
Yes, sir.
you're going to do some checking.
Yeah, absolutely. As you know, Davis Vision has been the county's vision provider for many, many years. The last two renewals, they've been flat renewals and rate guarantees for 3 years. The current contract with them, rate guarantee is through the end of 2019. So after we had a discussion a few weeks back and talked to some individuals, because we rarely get complaints about Davis Vision. So a few people that I've talked to that had general complaints, they fall into two categories. One is the provider service, what they're doing, or if they're not showing employees the Davis Vision frame towers and trying to upsell them to their own frames, or it could be just a coverage issue. So we're self-insured, and this board set the coverage benefit levels for the vision plan. And with the vision plan, it covers frames and lenses, but you can replace the frames every other year, or you can get contacts, but you can't get both. So 1 year you can get frames and lenses, and the next year contacts, but there's only a $100 credit toward frames or contacts. The actual exams are covered 100%. And then any of the add-ons that people put onto glasses, there's a scheduled price list that's significantly discounted. But what I'm hearing is that some of the providers, again, may not be showing them what the frame towers are from Davis Vision, or say, oh, well, or they may not even be providing you the right benefits under the plan. And so you're getting a bill, which we're all going to get a bill because we put coatings and tintings and things like that, but we want to make sure it's correct. So I did talk to our account executive, and again, I need to get specific providers that are doing this to you, because we can address them. 2 years ago, there was an issue with a local provider, and we found that out when we had our benefits fair. Davis Vision was here, and one of our employees talked to them about this provider. And at the end of the benefits fair that day, he got in his car and drove over to that provider personally and set them straight. So they will do that, but we need to know what's happening if there's complaints. And then again, with the benefit levels, this board hasn't changed those benefit levels in years. If that's something they want to look at, that's fine. But again, I think maybe we can do a better job of communicating what those benefit levels are for the vision plan, because most employers don't even provide vision now. There's probably 3-4 major vision providers for employer groups. And a lot of them are just discount programs. Ours is a little unique because we do provide levels of benefits and self-insure it. But again, if anybody has any complaints, you can actually direct them to the county board office, and they can get them to me, and I can actually have our account rep here at next week's meeting to actually discuss some of these issues with you if you would like. So you just let me know, and I'll let them know.
Bruce, there's one issue that I've heard from more than one person. It deals with contact. It deals with contact lenses. you know, we provide an eye exam to our participants. But when you want your contact, they tell you there's a separate charge for the contact.
That is true, actually, and I've went through this, not
So that's
here,
a
but in my
benefit-
prior job.
That's a benefit thing.
So what, yes,
It
it is.
doesn't seem to make sense, you can get an eye exam with.
Well,
you can't get
contact
an eye
lens,
exam for-
correct, but contact lens exams are completely different than for corrective frame, because they have to do the spherical measurements and the sizing, so it is a different process. I went through this, like I said, at my last job before I had LASIK surgery. And I would always get that upcharge because it's a separate process. And that's the same with ours. I was looking at our brochure.
Okay, it's
of
fine.
benefits.
That's about-
Yeah, it is. So, but obviously, we can change that if the board wanted, but that's currently what the benefit level is. I believe, and I'm gonna double check, if you're gonna go in just for contacts, you let them know up front, and they won't do the frame exam, they'll do the contact exam and cover it.
And that's covered then?
It should,
So you
yes.
can have one or the other?
Right,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. You just can't have both?
correct.
Yeah.
But you can switch alternate years, like one year you can get the frames and,
Got it.
right. And they do have discounts on contacts, so I know one year you get the $100 credit, but the other year you can go through their discount program too.
Okay, there's one other benefit I wanted to talk to you about. It's not an eye, it's medical, but you have a question?
Yeah, I did. More of a statement, has anybody in our office, your office, contacted any of our suppliers that use Davis or that are, working with Davis to talk to them about their relationship and the work that, and how they feel that the work with Davis has been?
We have talked to maybe 3 or 4 local providers on
I
behalf.
may give you another one.
And please do.
Yeah, because I've actually, went over to Davis and they had their stand there. I think they actually pulled stands in the last year, and you're just getting a $100 credit. They're not even glasses out there anymore because they're terrible.
Some providers don't have the tower, that's correct.
I think the towers were there. I think Davis, well, I don't know if Davis pulled them or not, or they're just not showing them because the quality of the towers, the quality of the glass frames on the towers was pretty poor when you looked at it compared to even the low end of what's on the wall. I mean, there's.
We usually at the tower.
So I just think that, whenever you talk to a rep and ask the rep to take care of a problem, of course they're gonna take care of a problem. They don't wanna lose the business.
That's correct.
And so you also have to be able to talk to the other side because it's our job to know both sides of the story, not just one side of the story. So I don't think that this is just a thing where you have to go in and take a look at it from Davis's standpoint.
No, and I agree with you.
So
I
I'd
agree
like
with
to
you.
hear what some of the providers, we don't have to go about that now. I'm gonna give you the provider that we use. I mean,
Yes.
I've been using it for a number of years.
I'd be happy to talk to them.
And see what we can do with that, because I'd like to see what both sides of the story is. Because a provider, a rep's gonna take care of this himself.
Exactly. So, and a little background too. Some providers, their contract with Davis Vision, they don't have to provide the towers. Other providers that are bigger, they do, because there's a lot of space issues. But the second thing is that 99% of all frames are made by the same manufacturer, Luxottica, whether it is
In Italy.
They're all, yes,
Yeah,
correct.
I
They're all
know.
the same. So Davis Vision frames are generic frames made by the same company that makes Gucci and Prada and all those other frames. So, I kind of dispute the quality of the frames. Maybe the style is not what you're looking for, but, they're all the same. But definitely give me that name, and I would like to talk to that provider. Because you're right, you need to hear both
And
sides.
maybe next year we can review our actual towers, and we can see. whether-
Well, we have them at our benefits fair,
Yeah, that's
first
true.
Wednesday in October. They'll be up here with the towers.
I'd
So,
like to take a look and see if there's really.
Let's just get a sticker that says cross. Let's get stickers made.
I'm not going to advocate.
I'm gonna do that. My actual next comment was actually really tied into wellness. So, wellness program,
Yeah.
we're just gonna do a quick,
Right, so I've had a couple of conversations about some concerns with the wellness activities for spouses. We do a lot of seminars and lunch and learns during the workday. Obviously, if a spouse works, they can't here, but we do have a multitude of activities and other types of ways for spouses to earn their points, to get the credit. Things that are as easy as printing out an affidavit saying they got their flu shot for the year, they've had mammogram or PSA, all those kinds of gym memberships. There's online activities, courses that you get points for, very easy. So you don't have to get them all through attending one of the seminars that we put on. However, if the board would like us to look into maybe offering a couple times a year, we'll do that. But, you know, I don't want to do that and pay a security guard to keep the building open and then you have 5 people here. Yeah.
Okay, the other comment I wanted to make about wellness, well, actually a couple. One thing I mentioned, I actually get more tips from Blue Cross and Blue Shield and have more interaction with Blue Cross and Blue Shield than I do actually the wellness folks.
That's right.
Which makes me think, well, who's doing what and who's maybe having a more effect on the wellness, you know. Of course, Blue Cross and Blue Shield already knows what my conditions are. They see them. If you have it, you know, I'm a diabetic, so we'll just say I'm a diabetic. So they know I'm a diabetic, type 2. I'm a type 2 diabetic. So they'll ask me, do you want to receive information on diabetes? And I said yes. And, you know, I sign up on the website and they'll send me a couple times a week, well, here's some things about diet, here's some things about exercise, and so forth and so on. So I just find it interesting that I'm receiving more from the insurance folks, the administration from the insurance program than I am from the wellness folks, even though I get this thing to say, well, like say we're having a program here. I know there might be HIPAA considerations here, but it does make me wonder how do you merge services to make it wellness the most effective. And so I guess it's more of a comment of how do we look.
And I'd like to respond to that comment because I think it's very timely. And you did mention HIPAA, and that is correct. The wellness program that we have, what we're paying for is a portal and the Mayo Clinic HRQ. We run the program here internally. So because of HIPAA issues, we don't know about individuals' health issues and we don't want to. So we can't respond that way. However, just yesterday, myself and some of my staff had a meeting with Blue Cross and a new vendor of Blue Cross's that is actually in-network provider. And what they do is, you know how we do our wellness program and we have the nurses come in here, we hold the clinics, do the biometrics, you're in and out in 10 minutes. They offer a program where they spend a full 40 minutes with you. They are nurse practitioners. They are the only company that are licensed. They have a full, the machine that they use, the finger stick, has the same quality as a lab venous draw. And it was invented for NASA, and they have the only contract in the country that has this machine. So they can have, you can have a lab quality full panel done and reviewed with a nurse practitioner, and they spend 40 minutes with you on all of your health issues, and they follow through and follow up with you, whatever your issues are. And they are actually, it's unique because they are in-network providers, so it is not, it's not an extra contract or cost to the county above what a visit to the doctor, and it's a third of the cost if you went to have a full physical. So, and the other thing is, we wouldn't force employees to choose whether they go to their doctor or this, because we want to encourage relationships with primary care doctors. And the other thing is, they will secure fax the results right to your primary care physician that day. I think it's a fantastic idea. We're looking at for the next wellness campaign in April. And again, it's all part of an in-network benefit. So I think we're going to look at that as an option for April of next year.
There's one other thing I want to talk about wellness, and that is this, I mentioned I'm a type 2 diabetic. Of course, you test your sugar on a daily basis. I only have to do it once a day. But many, as you know, diabetics have to do this 2, 3, 4 times a day. And to keep their at optimum. But we, in our plans, do not provide any benefit for testing.
That's not true. We do. Strips are covered.
I'm told they're not covered. When I
Test strips and lancets are covered under the medical insurance.
I will tell you that I'll get another prescription, but I've been told.
It's not under the prescription plan, it's under medical.
It's
You
under
have to
medical, and
submit
there's
the
only
claim.
so many providers you can go to. I have that list.
Okay, you said it. I mean, I'm wondering if you think that's commonly known? The reason I'm saying is because it's so where do they get their test strips from? Through the mail?
Are
I
they-
get mine at the pharmacy.
I mean, well, you just said it's not part of the pharmacy.
There's just certain ones, so I'll get you the list of where you can get them from. And they bill medical.
Okay, well, I don't think it's commonly known, because I've talked to other employees, they, oh, yeah, it's not covered.
Well, that's, okay. And then-
Because they're given a prescription from their doctor, they take it to the Walgreens, wherever they're going, or they can say they go to the mail order, and they say it's not
No.
provided.
Most
Why
plans-
we wouldn't provide it through our mail order, which we can control?
We can't. Our plan is kind of unique in the way it's structured. Most plans cover the lancets and strips through the pharmacy benefit. We don't. It's always been covered under medical. And there's in-network
reason?
providers. I don't know the reason.
I mean, it seems to me, the easiest way is just let them go to the pharmacy and, you know, it is whatever it is. I mean, I happen to use a generic one, so it doesn't cost me much. It's like, but I'm not one of these diabetics that has to watch really closely
Right, and they're
my
not cheap.
glucose throughout the day. So,
And Blue Cross will actually provide you a test machine for free.
oh, everybody gets tested, the money's in the strips.
Of course, just like printers.
You get these strips, for those of you who are non-diabetics, you get one of these higher end, they're $1 a strip.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're testing, you're supposed to be testing 4 or 5 times a day, you know, it's like $5 a day. Well, I have news for you, people can't afford it, they're not testing. And if they're not testing, they're gonna create other health issues, which drives up additional costs for us as the provider. So,
What we can do is we can have Ann do a cost analysis of what the impact of the plan would be, prescription versus medical, based upon our past results, and we can provide that information to you. So if the board wants to make a decision to switch it, we can certainly do that.
well, Bruce, it seems to me, and by the way, we collectively here, you know, are responsible, so I'm not saying, but it's almost like we're presenting a program that's one of the most devastating health problems that we have probably as a plan and as a country.
Absolutely, metabolic
Diabetes
syndrome.
can be very expensive, the results of different, can be very expensive, but yet we're making a hard path for them to get their tools to help control it. I mean, that's how it appears to me.
And I won't argue with that. I don't test, so I don't have to go through that process.
Well, like I say, for me, once a day, even if it's $1 a strip, I do it once a day. But there are people who do this every couple hours. They're type 1 diabetics, you know, and maybe they take more aggressive and find out how it gets paid for or whatever. But I'm just saying that it seems to me that the normal course is people get prescriptions, they take it to the pharmacy, and they get the prescription. They can say, well, this test strip is this, you know, you got a $25 copay or whatever the copays are, you know, get a different kind of strip. Even if we restricted it is what type of strips you can get.
Well, Blue Cross does that now.
I mean, that's fine, because, you know, I have found one thing. The 10-cent strip that I buy works just as well as the dollar strip I used to use. Because I'll go back, because I'll use both meters simultaneously to see if I get the same reading.
I would disagree with that.
Same reading, you know? Are you diabetic?
No, I'm disagreeing with his glasses comment.
So
Hey, there was a little dig in, and I just couldn't let it go, sorry, Bruce.
So anyways, I wanted to point that out, and I think if it is coming through medical, we need to make it real clear to the diabetics how they get the benefit.
Certainly.
Because-
And actually, Blue Cross we can ask them to target our population because they have the data. They know the conditions. So they can actually do direct mailings to explain how to do it if it's not being done.
Okay, well, that'd be great, because I certainly not aware of it,
I'd be happy to do that.
you know? And I like to think I'm aware of everything. I didn't say I like to think I know everything. I just said aware. Yeah, just so everybody knows. All right. So, any other comments on the wellness?
One other, it might be also helpful to do like a did you know kind of thing, not just target it, but just up on
Yeah.
boards or checks or whatever, so that everybody's aware, because you may have somebody else in the household.
I agree. Oh, that's absolutely.
Yeah, communicating is, all different avenues. It's always difficult, but you're right. If you can catch one person, that's perfect. So you're right.
So, okay, then we'll move on. Any other things for Bruce? Okay, thanks, Bruce. Is there any other, other new business? You know, I have on mine, it's on yours, having a discussion about ESDB and 911 and this dispatch center. You know, there was some understanding that, there was gonna be some kind of, everybody was gonna chip in for occupancy costs, and now I'm hearing that's not gonna happen. I don't know if I'm necessarily want the discussion here today, but I mean, I would like to, maybe we'll put it over to Finance and Capital, let them discuss it there. Because is that basically true? Now they're gonna pay nothing?
No, that's not.
No, that's not true. Okay.
There's,
Not that I'm confused, but I'm hearing different things now.
there's ongoing conversations. The board, this kind board has not approved a document with them yet. They're working through the personnel issue, which we have a meeting scheduled, I believe, next week with the union and the dispatch leadership.
If I can interrupt you. So everyone knows, because as I'm finding out, not everybody's aware of how that's going forward, because they're asking questions. The 911 center will be employees of the county. Just so everyone knows. So we're basically going to be, everybody will pay for their share of operations.
There's a calculation that they are paying the cost of the operations. We're included as the sheriff's department. We're paying our share. They're paying their share.
Right.
And while I'm up here, I might as well say, I think this board has been clear previously that we did this to basically move things along. It was the right decision. We have a major operation to the sheriff's department. We were gonna have to build a dispatch center anyway, but when the state law came down forcing us to consolidate, and there was a log jam, the county board leadership, county executive agreed to include this in our project. It was a cost savings, good move. Some folks, particularly from Westcom, have felt like there was some inequity because the county was funding that. I think as a whole, it's safe to say the county hasn't seen that point of view. And personally, I've asked them, what is the number you're looking for? And there's been some, that's kind of died down, but that's not gone. There is a possibility that some of the new funds that are coming in through the surcharge that was increased could pay for things both at Westcom or at LCC, beyond what they're already intending to pay for. So that's a discussion item for the future. But I personally have said to some of those folks, well, if you think Westcom's entitled to some money for reimbursement, the county's probably entitled to some reimbursement too, because we funded I mean, their argument is we funded things for the LCC that we didn't fund for them, but the LCC, we're a partner of, and it's our building, and now it's gonna be our employees.
Yeah.
So whereas Westcom, theoretically, I mean, in practice, they have equity in the building as a partner. The people who are coming to our facility don't own the building, it's our building that we're letting them use, and they're covering the operational costs. And there's always been a number that they're figuring into the cost, whether it was a lease payment or whether it's just figured into the overall operational cost.
So Nick, we're going to figure in maintenance costs, I'm not just talking about janitorial costs, and we'll figure in some type of maybe long-term replacement, maintenance, how we do it. But there's gonna be a calculation.
There's a calculation.
There's gonna be a calculation. Mike, you want
I just think it would be nice to get because we have changed things as this whole thing has evolved. If we can get a little synopsis together of kind of where we're at, and what we're thinking, so everybody can kind of take a look at it and say, okay, they're paying this much, that's covering probably these things. I mean, it doesn't have to be finite at this point, because I know some things are still in flux, but I'm talking to everybody has a little different feel of what's being covered or why, or is this number lower so they can cover more of something else? There's those kinds of things going on. So,
well, what I'd like is for us to get some kind of tentative agreement in place where we go through all that, with the understanding that we're expecting certain things to be included in the operational costs.
Yes, that's not getting wiped away. It's being included in, there's a cost of doing business, and that's part of the cost of business. It may not be singled out or redlined as a rent payment per se, but it's figured into the cost.
Figured into the occupancy cost.
Right, because it's not a free building for them. We're paying a portion, and I would hope that if there is an opportunity for the county proper to get reimbursed for any of those funds, we would put in a request too. If there's new dollars that are coming in from the state raising the fee, that we would get some of it too. So we can prepare some.
It's still the same, we're on the same.
There's a lot of
It's just
rumors and things that go on, and until this plane successfully lands, but we're close. It's just getting the labor issue resolved is a big part of that. Because if that doesn't get resolved, the center doesn't open. I mean, that's a big deal.
It'll be a big deal.
Yeah. So.
It'll get done though.
Right.
Okay, thanks. Okay. I put on here discussion of hiring freeze. You know, I just want to point out that we're going to have some challenges, I think, in our budget. We don't know exactly where we're going to go. At best case scenario is challenging. So I'm suggesting that perhaps the entire county, not just the executive branch of the county, but the entire county, with certain exceptions, like the nursing home, we know that we can't not let that be staffed. You know, that we basically have a hiring freeze until we get a budget approved and see where we're at. That's basically what this is. I've mentioned this before, but if someone on the committee really has and like I said, and I understand there's crucial ones, like the nursing home. But outside of those, that we would probably not be approving or entertaining moving forward at this time any additional items.
Does that mean, you said the budget, we vote on the budget in November?
Well, November, and then we pay another review. So if we would ask nothing, we would do nothing in October, November, probably December too. As a practical matter, probably not until after the first of the year, and then we're still going to hire again.
So was there some exceptions? You said the nursing home. What about the sheriff department? Were you pointing out some exceptions?
We don't have, sheriff's department, we don't have any control. They can do whatever they want, and indeed they do. That's why they overspend their budget, so, every year. So, like, they don't have to pay attention.
Well,
Sorry, guys, who have never out there.
They didn't hear that. They didn't hear
But it's an irritant.
Well, can I go back to, were you pointing out those exceptions when you said Sunny Hill Nursing Home?
Sunny Hill's an exception because we have to have certain level of staffing. We have to have nurses there, we have to have CNAs there. So those are.
Tremendous turnover.
and they have a good turnover. So we let the nursing home is always kind of exempt in that kind of hiring. Because generally what they're just doing is, they're really just trying to stay at their current staffing levels. Now, if there was some other thing that was really crucial, and I'm talking about, by the way, nothing new goes into the pipeline. I understand there could be some stuff in the pipeline now. We're not gonna stop that.
Okay.
We'll let that continue to go through.
Okay.
3 or 4.
Right.
Well, stuff that's on now is gonna go
Okay.
forward.
That was my next question. Okay.
Good.
Just a real quick comment.
Obviously, this month, the county executive presents his budget, so you will see the proposed budget. It's going to be a balanced budget, as it always has been. But we're taking into account, when we have been all along, the potential or expected reductions from the state. That's part of the plan. And there's priorities, as we all know. We're going to have to, whatever Larry presents, you're going to still have the opportunity to tinker with, tweak, whatever, and we've done that successfully, I think, the last few years. I mean, some years there hasn't been a lot of change. Some, I don't think there's been ever major changes, because county board office is involved. Melissa's been sitting in a lot of these meetings, and they work very closely together. As far as the freeze, I mean, we're sensitive to hiring levels, and I guess it may be worth looking during the budget process when the county board's looking at it, to look at the staffing levels across the board, period, because
Let me say that, I was going to mention, you know, Mr. Brooks asked me about like the sheriff's department. Other elected officials, I don't know where.
I'll let them make their own case.
Well, no. Well, yeah, they can make their own case. But I would say that that's where the board and the executive will make, we may be making recommendations, and indeed be reducing their budgets.
Well, it's for, I'm speaking for the offices and departments under the executive branch. Obviously, we come here for approval for the hires. For external hires, internal hires can be made administratively, but we are very, I just wanted to assure the board that we're very sensitive to that and conservative about it. And the direction has been over the last, I'd say 5, 6, 7 years, is the board's policy has been, you live within the budget that you're given, and we've done that. And so that may, and we have delayed hires or not replaced positions, and that's why I think it's important to note that departments have shrunk over the years. I mean, the one that has always used this example, because it's the greatest, is land use, has shrunk. Now, a lot of that's due to the demand on the work, but it's also they've become more efficient over time through the technology investments that the county has made. But I think that's useful to look at, because some of those hires, we don't have 3 deep in the department. Sometimes it's that position is the position that does the work, and so I'm not arguing with anyone, but I'm just saying that we need to look at that.
Let me say this, just to make it clear, what I think the message here is,
Right.
is, you know, certainly we are part of the process, hiring process in the executive branch here. We are not part of the process for other countywide elected officials. What I'm saying here is everyone should look at not hiring, with the understanding that your personnel budgets could very well be cut going into the 2018 budget year. So I think because of other costs that we can't control, like health insurance, I think because of certain revenue losses and also the modest revenue increases that may occur through new construction, we're not going to cover. So I believe there will be cuts to the personnel budgets, and everybody will live within those budgets, and not use other excuses. So don't hire. I'm talking to everybody now. Don't hire, because you may not have the budgets to maintain these staff levels.
And for the executive's offices, you all know, we now come to you with a pre-approval process. I mean, there's a few exceptions to that, but we come pre-approval, so we don't want to recruit for a position if it's unlikely they're gonna get approved at the end of the process. We don't wanna waste anybody's time or set people's expectations. So that's why we are participating in this pre-approval process with a few exceptions, which that's usually through the board office. We get an exception on that, but usually it's pre-approval and then recruitment and approval, so.
Okay, so I guess that's just a way of saying everybody should stay status quo, don't hire any, if you lose a person, wait to hire them, because I do believe that it may be necessary to reduce budget levels from last year, so certainly not increase them, so, okay. Committee assignments, additional committee assignments, committee, I have amendments to the joint grant agreement with Bolingbrook for CDBG. Ron, you want to give me a 1-minute explanation? Is he here?
Yes, I am.
There he is. Okay, so we just need to do, this is just to amend our agreement with Bolingbrook to comply with HUD, basically, right?
Yes, basically, the existing agreement ends September 30th of this month, of this year. So we need to extend it another 3 years and then make it renewable, automatically renewable from that point forward.
So somebody make a motion to add this? Move, second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Before I go on, item number 6 on public works, which is CDBM, a contract for additional funding for data. Exactly, was this part of the freight study? Or is this something else?
That's correct, part of the freight study.
Oh, okay, why don't you stand up so maybe you can come up and just give us a little, what's coming on. I guess what I need to know, Jeff, is this part of Snyder and Associates contract? Are we adding to that contract?
Snyder's contract is part of the CDM study.
So this has been outside the contract. This has nothing to do with the contract for the freight study with Snyder and Associates.
Not with Snyder, but it's with CDM Smith, who is doing the freight study.
Okay, so I guess what I need to know is that, is this part of that contract or it's not part of that contract?
We're looking to make this part of the contract. This is data we needed back earlier in the year. We decided, originally we thought we could get data from the CMAP. That data was not available, and if we still wanted it, we'd be waiting until 2018. So they had to go to an outside source, and the outside source cost money.
Which would have been nice if it came to us first before the bill showed up.
Well, honestly,
or maybe it did. I
believe it did. I believe Ann Schneider gave an update to the group that we needed this trans-search data, but I'd go back in the minutes and try to find it.
Yeah, this exhibit from June 8th says it's included data collection under proposed services.
The data collection was originally supposed to be from CMAP and be free, but the data from CMAP is not available.
But the contract doesn't say
Where it comes from.
where it comes from.
Plus-
And look, I'm not looking to stick it to them. I mean, I'm just saying that it's something that seems to be, it should have been, was included in the contract, the cost that was negotiated, and now it's coming back as an additional item that we have to pay for. So, I mean, Don, do you have any comment on this, or what's your opinion?
Just exactly what Jeff said. It says this cost was not included in the original scope because it was thought that CDM Smith could obtain from another source at no cost to the county.
But it's not a cost to the county. See, they're responsible for the study, and the data is there to be given and gotten from them. If they couldn't get it for free, they should have done that up front. That's with the amount of money that we're paying this group, I don't feel comfortable
But
with additional money for
how did
data.
CMAP enter into the discussion? Because obviously something was going to be obtained from CMAP.
From what I understand, they were supposed to get data from CMAP, and that data from CMAP was supposed to be updated, but it was not. So instead of using old data, we went to
That's
that.
Well, let me do this, rather than us arguing here, whether it's in or out, we'll move it forward. It'll stay on the agenda, but I need review from the state's attorney's office and letting us know whether this was included or not included in the agreement, and then we'll kind of take it from there. I mean, it's just, like I say, I'm not looking to stick it to anybody because there may have been a misunderstanding or an error in how it was presented. We needed the data, that we do know. We needed the data. We had to have the data. So, we'll just move things along. So, we'll be on the county board agenda, and if you can give us an update next Thursday, that would be great, okay? So we'll leave it out as an update on the executive session. Okay. Okay. Is there, let's see. Committee chairs, do you have any comments on any of your items?
One thing on mine, Jim, was that on finance, on item number 4, appropriate funds, 901 budget, you're moving over to executive.
Okay. So, so make that motion and move that to executive.
I'll make a motion, move item number 4.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Any other comments from any of the chairs on their items that are being assigned? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to assign committee assignments as amended.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Okay. So,
Jim, there is a request for the state's attorney's opinion that Kevin's prepared to give on the additional parking regulations.
okay.
It's a very simple opinion. We were asked whether you could regulate parking on county highways or county roads, and you certainly can. Now, whether that addresses the intention of that ordinance, if it's a county highway issue, yes. If it's a municipality, township, anybody else's road, our ordinance would not affect that parking. So if those issues are a municipality or in a township, or on a township road, we can pass it, but it won't affect those properties.
So let me ask that, which is the bulk of the roads, but even townships, if they want to, they have the ability to put up certain type of signs. Some things they need, maybe county permission or for, and others they can just do by right, correct?
Right, they're, as a road authority, can regulate certain things.
Okay. So everybody, whoever jurisdiction it is, basically has authority.
Right.
Did I answer your question, Tom?
No.
All right.
The problem is that the highway commissioner can restrict everybody from parking, but I'm specifically asking that we prohibit commercial parking on residential streets and also semis on township roads in an industrial district. We don't want to contribute or ask, like a guy wants to park his own car out in front of his house, he would be able to do that, but I'm saying we should restrict commercial vehicles in a residential district or semis in an industrial district on a road in an industrial park. So I think there's some clarification maybe of the state law that needs to be done to give us the authority, or the sheriff the authority. The sheriff is the one that enforces these parking regulations.
I will say, Tom, you have me slightly confused, but.
Anybody's asking if you want to change, make a change.
Well, the thing is commercial vehicles, in other words, a fellow who owns a pickup truck that has, whatever, Joe's Jeeps or whatever, is basically a commercial vehicle.
Okay,
So
I'm saying you can have one of those, you can't have two of them.
So if a guy has 2 pickup trucks, let's say his wife works for ComEd, it's a ComEd truck, and the husband works for NI Gas, and they both have pickup
Okay.
trucks for work?
Then he can
Those are
park
two
one.
commercial vehicles.
He can park one in his driveway and one on the street.
Okay. This is why I live in appropriate areas.
Right.
Because they have to deal with these kind of things. But anyway, okay, we know what you're saying, Tom. You've got an answer.
Yes.
And the answer is, it's up to the local jurisdictional.
By way, you certainly can pass this ordinance, but it would not have any effect on those.
It's not enforceable on other jurisdictions.
Just on county roads.
So-
What you're still asking, Tom, is that you'd like to make modifications to it.
Well, he's now saying it's probably state
Well,
legislature.
I want something that's enforceable, you know.
Well, then I would recommend, Tom, that you go to legislative and see if there's an issue that we can have discussions.
I'd like to assign this to the legislative committee then, see if they can.
You can make a request of the chairman of legislative. I mean,
We talked about it earlier.
Okay.
And also, this gives me.
If it's an issue you want to take up.
Yeah, no, I absolutely do. I'd like to have this.
Go
And then
over on legislative committee for discussion.
I also want to put out there, and you kind of open that door, I really would like to look at stuff that we can do on the local side before it gets over to the state. So anything that we can kind of bring in, but if this needs to go over and we have to legislate and get our state legislators involved, absolutely, we have to have this conversation. But I'm going to need help from the state's attorneys just to make sure we can't resolve this on the local.
You have no authority to regulate other.
Well, there we go, I guess we're
public
going to the
bodies.
state, guess we're going to Springfield, please.
Okay. Anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, executive. I'll entertain a motion on executive session.
Second.
Take the roll, please.
Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Brizalone?
Yes.
Rules?
Yes.
O'Gallagher? Yes.
No, I-